kingdom that is to come. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Pilate said to Jesus, "Are you the King of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this on your own, or have others told you about me?" Pilate answered, "I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priest handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom does not belong to this world. If my kingdom did belong to this world, my attendants would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not here." So Pilate said to him, "Then you are a king." Jesus answered, "You say I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Today we celebrate the solemnity of Christ the King. The idea of a king is someone who rules according to his whims and caprices. Someone who hardly respects human rights or the dignity of human life. Most kings in human history were ruthless men, were dictators and murderers who vanquished with brute force anyone or a group of people who oppose them or criticize them. Kings are lawless. Even when they make laws, they break it when necessary. In such kingdoms, people live to make their kings happy. Women are not respected. Women are seen as tools to be acquired, objects of sexual gratification, and men who are not part of the ruling class are treated as slaves. Kings do not fear anyone or respect anyone. They don't even respect their creator. Their idea of the good is what makes them happy. Whatever that makes them happy is what is good. And even when that hurts other people. They live a flashy and flamboyant life, even when their subjects are starving and dying. Kings do not serve. They are the ones who are served. They don't die for anyone. People die for them. People die to defend and preserve their kingdom and their reign. In the dictionary of their lives and reign, the word mercy or forgiveness does not exist. Anyone who crosses their path dies. The bottom line is this, that kings are very ruthless men who respect no one, who respect no norms, and who rule according to their selfishness and according to what pleases them. Like I said before, whatever makes them happy, that's what is good. And everyone must subject to their rule. Now, with all this, with all that I have said, why do we celebrate the solemnity of Christ the King? Why do we call Jesus King? If the idea of a king is all this stuff I have talked about, there are very few of them, who showed some, degree of concern. But of course, even when they do that, they have an interest to protect. They have something that is in there for them. So why do we call Jesus the King? Let's look at what Jesus said about himself in the scriptures. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 20, verse 28, Jesus said that the Son of Man has come not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. In the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 10, Jesus said, I have come that you may have life in abundance. In the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 11, Jesus said, I am the good shepherd who is willing to lay down my life for the sheep. And so, brothers and sisters, from these few verses and so many others in the scriptures that I am not able to reference due to time constraint, we can see the kind of a king that Jesus is. Jesus is a kind of a king that uses his kingship for service. He uses his kingship to bring us, to attract us into the loving hands of God. And so when we talk about Jesus as king, we are not making reference to someone like Augustus Caesar or Emperor Nero or Napoleon. We are not even talking about someone like the king of Saudi Arabia or the leader of North Korea. We are talking about Jesus, the Son of God, who died in our place. who sacrificed his life for us. Unlike the kings of this world, Jesus actually respects our freedom to accept him or not to accept him, to say yes to him or not to say yes to him. Although he prefers that we accept him, because he said that in the Gospel of John chapter 13, Jesus said, I am the light of the world, and whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will walk and have the light of life. And so Jesus would prefer that we'll accept him. He would prefer that we say yes to him. But the decision to say yes to him or to accept him is always going to be ours to make. And even when Jesus urges us to follow him, he does this in a loving manner, in a gentle manner, not through force, brutal force. And so we celebrate Jesus as the King of the universe, who rules, who reigns in a gentle manner, in a loving manner, in a compassionate manner, in a merciful manner, in a tolerant manner. Someone who appeals to us, who tries to show us the way. For already he said that I am the way, the truth, and the life. If you follow me, you will find the truth. You will find life. And you will be saved. And so, brothers and sisters, I don't know about you. As for me, I accept to live under the kingship of Jesus. I accept Jesus as my king. I accept Jesus as my ruler. Because even when I fall short, when I cross his path, he looks at me, he smiles, he picks me up, and he says to me, this is not the definition or the end of your life. There is still something to learn from here. I accept Jesus as my king because he is a king who gives abundant second chance. He is the God of second chance. The kings of the world, when you cross their path, when you violate their rules, when you criticize them, you are gone. I accept the kingship of Jesus because even while I live under his reign, I still have the freedom to sometimes be angry with him. I still have the freedom to complain. I still have the freedom to challenge him. I still have the freedom to be mad at him. I still have the freedom to be angry with him. I still have the freedom to lament and not pay the price because he understands me. He knows what I am going through. He understands the pain, the excruciating pain of my experiences. The kings of this world are not like that. You criticize them, you are fired. You criticize them, your life may be done. You criticize them, your job may be jeopardized. You criticize them, you disobey them, you put your family at risk. Your entire family may be wiped out. Check the news. Look at what happens in Saudi Arabia. Look at what happens in North Korea. Look at what happens in other countries where leaders think that they are above law. They are the law. And everyone must bow down to them. But for Jesus, even when you refuse to bow down to him, he doesn't send his armies after you. He doesn't send the angels after you. But he gently, compassionately, and lovingly appeals to you to return home. The kingship of Jesus challenges the kingship of this world. It challenges even what happens in families. I know that in Africa, where I come from, and I have seen this also in Hispanic culture, the man is the boss of the house. In African culture, women are to be seen and not to be heard. When the men are talking, the women pay attention. The man of the house dictates. He tells the wife what to do. He rules and he reigns. He unilaterally makes decisions that will affect the family without checking with his wife, simply because he is the man. And if the woman complains, she may be punished for it. If you consider yourself the king of your family, I hope you will model your own kingship to the kingship of Jesus. To lay down your life for your wife and children and to die for them. If you think you are the king of your family, I hope you will copy the kingship of Jesus. To serve your family and not to be served. Sometimes tell your wife, honey, let me do the cooking today. It's not going to take away your masculinity. It's not going to make you a woman, even though there's nothing wrong with being a woman. If we look at God's qualities, everything we say about God is actually very motherly. If the idea of a king frightens you, I hope my reflection with you about the kind of king that Jesus is doesn't. And like I said to you before, I have accepted to live under the kingship of Jesus. And I hope that is true for you too. Amen.